Welcome back, everyone. We are in May now, and I hope you have been enjoying these videos this spring with all these different people that we have gotten to talk to since the Walk of Love gathering, and I know there's going to be more. The past couple of weeks, April had three different people pass for me. That two, I was able to go to the funeral of, one visitation, and it was the last one was a sudden loss, and it really fired something up inside of me. So something I've been thinking about, I kind of put some things back in ChatGPT to help formulate my thoughts and put it in a more concise way. And so today, the first of every month, I am sharing with you some scripture, some thoughts, and today is going to be a little bit of a charge and encouragement on being a watchman. Okay? So, what is a watchman? In biblical times, a watchman stood on the walls of a city, especially at night, scanning the horizon for danger or important news. If they saw something coming, good or bad, they were responsible for sounding the alarm. And there are five different interpretations that the chat put together on how a watchman was represented in the Bible, and how I really truly believe that we, in part of the widow walk, are to be watchmen for each other. That we have the responsibility, that I believe that the Widow Walk Foundation is to be a beacon of light in a dark place, and to also become a network where we are looking out and checking on each other. And that is another form of being a watchman. And so, because we are looking out, we're checking in, we are checking on those that around us. And I feel like it's kind of a lost art, because post COVID, there became a lot more individualization. We're all kind of fending for ourselves. There's not this collective or village mentality anymore. And I feel like it's hurting us, to be honest, and especially in the widows group, that we kind of more there's a stigma that we just have to handle it. And I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they said, well, what I knew of widows in my church is that they just kept, keeping on, that they were just like any one of us, that they weren't really, that they weren't, I guess, struggling as much. She didn't never knew they were struggling because they never really showed it, and they just were another people group in the church. And I said, but we're not. But we're not. There is a difference in a widow's walk than there is for a couple. And so we're going to continue to dig into that. Point one on this being a watchman says spiritual purpose of a watchman: to stay spiritually alert. A watchman is someone who remains aware, paying attention to what's happening spiritually, not just physically. 1 Thessalonians 5:6 says, stay awake and be sober. When after my husband passed, there was a lot of songs that started coming into my mind, flooding my mind, really, I believe, renewing my mind, bringing renewal to my mind. And there was a song from Lecrae, I think, and it's called Calling All the Messengers. Calling all the messengers, calling all the messengers. And I felt I was supposed to respond to this, like I was being called. And that's a term you hear a lot, like I was called into the ministry. It is some language that some of you may have been familiar with. And it felt like the Lord. I just would say, like, I'm not on the bench anymore of life. I'm not just an observer. I'm a participator in life. And spiritual warfare became a real thing for me after my husband passed. I do believe in a husband's covering, and I do believe that my husband took that seriously and understood that assignment. And when he left, things got really squirrely and kind of chaotic. And that was not a an energy or a feeling that I really had around my house. And I did have that for a few months after, until I started to figure out what was going on, and that there is a spirit realm and there is a level of darkness that we are living in the midst of. And that darkness felt like it was creeping on and trying to get onto my property. And thankfully, due to my relationship with the Lord, I sniffed it out. And I said, not on my watch. No. Whatever this thing is, isn't coming here. I never saw anything. I felt a heaviness that I knew wasn't from the Lord. And we had to call it out and we had to send it out. And I said, well, I'm one of these people now. This is the thing, staying awake. We cannot numb out and just become autopilot. You zone out because life becomes overwhelming and you can't really handle the fast pace of all the things happening around you. And then you just kind of, your nervous system just goes into a state of freeze, and you are kind of going through the motions, but you're not really in the present of any of it. That's a real thing, and that can last for some time. Next, it says to warn others. One of the clearest roles comes from the book Ezekiel. God tells the prophet that if he sees danger and doesn't warn people, he shares responsibility. But if he warns them, he has done his duty. A watchman speaks truth even when it's uncomfortable. Yes, this is kind of the burden that I feel as the founder of this nonprofit. And I believe Judy also has taken on a burden to check on the widow and widower. They're doing that as part of their pastoral roles at the Barnes Church, but it's inside them whether they have a title or not. And that is really my cry here today, my exhortation here today, is that every widow that comes through our widow walk doors, the longer that you interact with us, the more you want to participate in helping widows around you. That you feel empowered enough, you feel filled up as a person enough that there's purpose behind participating in the widow's walk. And that isn't just about you receiving from the widow's walk, but you giving back to the widow's walk. That is where I am encouraging here today, that if you have some experience in some areas that may be difficult for some, that may be administrative, that may be financial help, that may be mechanical things, that may be helping with yard work. If you have some gifts and skills and you feel that you have extra time on your hands and you don't know where to put it, please get in touch with us. We're looking to build a team of volunteers, widows and widowers, especially, that can check in and help another. Point 3, to pray and intercede. Watchmen often represent people who pray intentionally for others, families, communities, nations. In Isaiah, watchmen are described as those who never keep silent day or night. I hope you hear this. I mean, some of my music, my cover had a girl in a plane with a megaphone, and I really felt like that was from the Lord, that in the beginning, especially those first 2 years, there were so many God thoughts, so much I really call revelation that he deposited inside me, that it has taken some time to unravel that and put that in practical ways. And that is real. You get a vision, then the provision for the revelation, the provision, the vision. You're just growing this whole thing. And it says, this is the heart of intercession, standing in the gap. And Point of Grace had a song back in the day, standing in the gap for you. Just remember someone somewhere is praying for you, calling out your name, praying for your praying for something. I'll be standing in the gap for you. See, all these lyrics are applicational. So it says, call on my name. This is what we're doing, that we're not just hearing about hardships around us, that we take ownership and start praying over those hardships that we're hearing about, not just hearing it and saying, oh man, that's a tough pill, like I'm sorry for their loss, and keep on trekking. No, we're hearing about it, we're stopping, and we're praying because we've been there, we've been on that side of it. And so we don't take losses lightly. And we have an opportunity to pray into that new widow's story and cover her because her spouse is no longer here. And no, I don't know all the circumstantial evidence about the spiritual component of these relationships and how much each spouse took that seriously and how much that spouse prayed for his wife. But I'm telling you, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for you. Listeners, watchers, you know who you are, who have prayed for me and interceded in my behalf for my health, for the protection of my children, over my finances, about this ministry, all of these things. It has come to pass because of you. I am the success that you see is because of the prayers of the saints and my parents and extended family. That I know for sure. It isn't myself. Yes, I am facilitating some of this, but the fuel is your prayers. I'm telling you. Y'all, this stuff gets me fired up. Gets me fired up. As you can see, I feel ignited within. There's songs about awake, oh sleeper, awake, oh sleeper. There are those of us who are going through life not in our full purpose. And when it hits, we need to start to learn how to be obedient and following through with the promptings that come to serve another. Number 4, to protect and guard. They help guard hearts, communities, and spiritual direction by being discerning. Not everyone that looks good is good. Not everything. Let me say not everyone. Not everything that looks good is good. Watchmen help filter truth from deception. Y'all, once again, we have talked about this in some of our gatherings, that there has been some widows and widowers that have been scammed. And all these letters that they get in the mail threatening financial things that are scams. Here again, when you get in a room of peers and you open up about some vulnerable things in your personal story, there's going to be others who've also experienced that. And they can bring wisdom and discernment about things to sift through the deception, because it can be hard to understand the language and you kind of feel like a sitting duck. And some of you have fallen prey to this. Yes, I believe widows especially are prey to these types of criminals that are out there. They're preying on the widow. And we, P R E Y, there's other types. And then we need to be the ones praying, PRAY, over them to protect them from this type of darkness that causes stress, loss of savings and legacy, all sorts of different things that we don't like to talk about that happens in this community and beyond here, to the widow and widowers in their after a hardship. And I just don't feel like that's right. You know, I don't want that for them. I don't want more suffering out of lack of understanding and knowledge. And yes, I have said this, it takes honesty, vulnerability, transparency about what's really going on, and to trust the people in the room to be able to not spill your hardship into the community. And we stress that so much at the Widow Walk meetings, gatherings that this stays here. For this to be a safe place, that is a sacred place, because we're talking about matters of the heart, we need to honor those stories. It says what this looks like today. A modern Okay, I'm getting ahead. I'm getting ahead. The next point, the last point here on the different kind of categories of what a watchman can be, is to announce good news. Let's get to the good stuff, okay? First, it says to stay spiritually alert. That is part of our responsibility. If you've asked Jesus into your heart, there's going to be an alertness that comes, a spiritual discernment that comes as you grow your relationship with the Lord. To warn others, to pray and intercede for others, to protect and guard. Those are all very different focuses, if you want to say. To announce good news. It's not all warning. Watchmen also announce hope. Y'all, is that not the core of the widow walk? The widow walk is here to announce hope, that there's hope in the midst of grief, that there's hope after walking through great loss, that there's hope for your future. There's hope. This is the overarching message, that there's hope and that we're a community of people that have love for you. They were the first to see, the watchmen in the Bible were the first to see the coming king, a returning army, a message of peace. They got to be in that role, if you want to call it. What this looks like today, a modern watchman might be someone who prays regularly for others. This aligns beautifully with what you're already doing through the widow walk. Discerns emotional and spiritual needs in people, speaks encouragement and truth, and notices when someone is struggling and reaches out. Y'all, I didn't write it. I spoke some things out, and then all of a sudden it spit this back to me and said it better than I could have wrote it at times. But it is verifying exactly what I thought. I'm going to read through this again. If you feel like you, the widow or widower, would love to step into these types of roles, we want to have a conversation. We want to get together outside of our gathering and discuss this further on which ones of you feel like you want to represent the ones that are staying spiritually alert to cover this foundation. Which ones of you feel like you want to warn others? That's really the education part of this for me. Part of our core values here at the Widow Walk is grief education. That is, the more, just like in medicine, the more that we gather information, the more of an informed patient we are. So we're not going into these hospital appointments blind and just taking what they say as truth and that it's always going to fit our story. That is not always the case. They have standard protocol. You are not a standard prototype. You are uniquely made. Therefore, you cannot always follow their standard of practice. You have to trial some of these things out. And if none of it feels right with what they're saying, get a second and third opinion. That's why they're creating functional medicine now and integrative medicine now to kind of incorporate more for people who really need a more holistic approach. The same here, y'all. The same here. There are those of you who have been through things, and you can warn us about it so that we don't go through it ourselves. Or maybe we can get ahead of something before it really snowballs on top of us. This is necessary as a team of people as we bring this army together, because I really believe every widow and widower is a warrior. You're living on the front lines of life because you're having to choose in on life every day after you've walked through, faced death with loved ones. It really is true. Then those who want to be on the team to pray and intercede. This is exactly what I'm talking about, that we have a team of volunteers that when someone calls and says, man, I'm really going through a hard time, can you pray with me? That we can direct them to one of you, and you're going to pray for them. If you feel the spirit of intercession on your life, we want to know about those gifts so that we can put you on a list and have you available when some things happen. And it's not just Judy and I making these phone calls and connecting with these widows. It's you. It's you. Also, to protect and guard. Back to that education. There's warning, but there's also protection. That is really the grief expression, I believe. Having resources to be able to share with someone else to guard them from future things. If you know about certain things in this community that could help another widow or widower, we need to know about it so we can add it to our website of resources and create more printable forms that we can pass out at our meetings to be able to educate those in this area about some concerns, whether it's things for around the house and needing connections to different areas that they might need fixed, or thinking of getting fixed in the future, or maintenance that needs to be done. But this could go into financial things that you have really found to be helpful, free financial help that you may be able to find, legal help, housing. If you are good at any of those types of things, we need to know about it. Okay. Lastly, it says here, a thought for you. This is what it was saying to me. Given your heart for widows and community, you're already functioning in a watchman role, especially in how you stay aware of needs, reach out intentionally, and create spaces for healing and connection. That's watchman work in action. That is us working in action. That is faith taking action. I had faith to act and pursue this foundation. Thankfully, the Lord put it on Judy Hawkins Dunn's heart and her husband to assist with this. We are ready to continue to grow this community resource, and it's going to take you, widows and widowers, and as volunteers in certain specific areas to continue to network and really cover the widows and widowers in this area. I believe so much that if we cover each other, that the suffering will not be as intense, that the long-standing suffering, it won't last as long, that the loneliness won't be where it is, the brain fog because you're kind of just overwhelmed with things. If you knew that you had support and you could call to other people that would follow through because they've been there, just all this stuff that starts to affect you physically, mentally, emotionally, I think will just wash away. It'll just move on. And that is who we can be for each other. That is what this widow walk is trying to be and is growing into becoming. We are limited right now because we are not doing this full time. We're doing this on a volunteer basis as the needs arise and as we can, as consistently as we can. So that is my notes for here today. I hope you can hear my heart here that we, the people of God, are all to be watchmen and watchwomen in the earth. But I am asking specifically with the Widow Walk that you would partner with us and you would start coming to our meetings and calling us, emailing us with some of your skills and giftings, areas of giftings that maybe you thought were over, you're retired and you don't really feel like, where do I use this now? I don't see the use in some of my past experience anymore. Well, we'd like to have a conversation with you because I believe there is skill sets in the widows and widowers right now in this community to help grow and propel this Widow Walk Foundation into the stratosphere. It's going to take you praying over this foundation. It's going to take you coming and gathering with us and bringing your information to the table so we can continue to educate other widows and widowers on different pitfalls that can happen, like scams in this area, some order of sequence on things. If you financially would like to help extend this mission, you can donate monthly. You can donate once, one-time donation. That is available on our website under the donation tab. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so it is a taxable contribution, tax exempt contribution that we can give you a letter at the end of the year. If you donate more than $250, you will receive a letter. And we are excited about where we are with the Widow Walk, but we know that there is so much more. And we have more fun ideas of how to get in touch with widows and widowers in this community in the early stages. And if you can see this, folks, just think about a hospital, that there's those in the ER who need immediate care, and then there is skilled care, and then there's the ICU. And this is the same with the Widow Walk. There are going to be widows that are more raw because it's a more fresh part of their story. The under 2-year widows walking through it that are going to need more hand holding, going to need more prayer, potentially guidance, warnings, and support. Really, that is the main thing. Then there's going to be those that are 10 years in and have stayed a widow, and they are the ones with wisdom and can glean, and they're getting older now, and they may not have needed support in certain areas when they were first a new widow, but now there's some areas that are popping up, and how can we help serve each other and cover it? This is what I believe is the Widow Walk's purpose, is to look out for each other and to cover the needs that arise collectively or individually as they come into our path. The more we know about them, the more we can share the burden together. That is like the old church, y'all. They met in their homes, they had communal funds, and then they covered needs together. It was the village way. We've lost that a little bit, I believe. And a lot of our families are not as connected as we'd like them to be. And so you don't always want to call your son or daughter or your brother or sister to ask for help. And sometimes maybe you have, and that has kind of run its course. We want to be able to learn how to share these burdens together and grow this foundation so that there is certain designated funds that cover a certain amount of needs if there is financial burden. Then there's another designation when it comes with gifts and sending flowers to widows. We'd like to have somebody that is contacting people on their birthday and calling people. We would like to have a team of people that are praying with people. We would like to have a team of people that are sending cards to people. These are all very inexpensive things that really just takes your time. And if you're someone who doesn't know what to do with your time, and you're feeling very lonely in your life every day, we would love to not give you busy work. I really believe this is eternal work, because you are caring for hearts in this community while you're working on healing your own heart. And I truly believe that when you take your attention off yourself and start to put it on others, there is a balance to that, folks. There is a balance. We want to check on you first, and then we volunteer. There's a progression to all of this. So I hope you have enjoyed this. If you want to do more of a deep dive study on what a watchman is from a biblical perspective, if you just put the word watchman into your Bible apps or Google that, all sorts of verses will come up in different Old and New Testament storylines of where a watchman showed up on the scene and how they were critical to the situation. I believe that is what the widow walk is. If you realize the widow walk is a metaphor for life, but it's also a balcony on a home in more seafaring areas, and it's a lookout. And that was really what drove me to the name and other confirmations. But since I am a real estate agent, it felt fitting that it would be a structural architectural term that has a emotional significance due to loss, and also gives us an image to get up a little bit higher, looking out. And that's really what I believe we are to be for each other. That we're not looking down, we're not with our heads held, that our heads are sulking down, or whatever you want to say. You think of people grieving, they're very kind of introspective, and they're ho hum, and it's just really depressed. Um, the image of the widow's walk is to be looking, expectant, alert. You're staying alert. You're checking out. You're looking. You're praying. You're asking the Lord to sense what's going on in my neighborhood. There are those who don't have a covering, and they're not going to church. And we, the spiritual believers in our neighborhoods, can pray and protect our neighborhoods. I truly believe our words have authority here. And for those of you who've walked with authority and have seen the Father show up in your behalf, are the ones that I'm looking for to really step up and step in to praying and interceding for this widow walk. I know some of you have, but I'm asking again for you to stand with us, to partner with us, to cover us, because this is getting into complex areas of the human experience. There is sadness here, there's anger here, there's confusion here, there's deep loss, there's bitterness here, there's brain fog here, there's illness here. These are not light topics, y'all, and we need your covering to be able to walk into these places and not be affected physically. And I can tell you that it has not felt like a burden at all for 2 years doing this. That's why I know that the Lord is in it. We feel passionate about this. I hope you can sense that as you hear me share that being a watchman is a high call, and it is a responsibility that I hope you want to partner with us in, and that 5 years from now we can share just how having these watchmen and women in the earth, and how we bonded through praying for each other, and that we protected each other from a future scam, and that someone had a health concern and they didn't know who to call or what doctor to refer to, and somebody else also dealt with that in there 2 years ago, and so they networked and gave a referral to, oh man, I know a cardiologist that's really good, I know a surgeon that's really good. And then boom, they're not worried and overwhelmed by all these decisions because they're having some health concerns, and they had their person to talk to and they don't have that person anymore. We have it. We are the resource. We've lived it. So we have all the resources that we need, but we are in the growing pains. And so it's time to ask again for you, the listener, to participate with us. You can email us at thewidowwalk@gmail.com, thewidowwalk@gmail.com. If you are interested in any of these categories of being an intercessor, being a volunteer, sending cards, checking on people on their birthdays, calling people, we want to hear from you. Two, if you have not been on the show yet, I would love to interview you. Please give me a call. I really don't want to give my phone number here over the video, but email us. If you cannot do that, go on our website. There's ways to inquire from there. That is thewidowwalk.org. www.thewidowwalk.org. That is our website. All of our resources are there. We're continuing to pursue more. Judy Hawkins has just sent me the final draft on our book coming up that she talked about. We are sending that on to the editors. If you would like to participate and help fund this mission to get this book to the finish line, hit that donate tab and check us on out. Share this resource. The more we know, the more we grow, the more we want to get inside your church to share it so that others know that if you're looking for more than your church has to offer, that we are here. We are meeting, as I said, the fourth Saturday of every month. Typically, we will be having the fifth Saturday in May because of Memorial Weekend. There is a fifth Saturday, so we're meeting this month, the fifth Saturday, at the Hunterdale Fire Department from 10:30 to 12. Tell your friends, invite a friend that has not been before, and stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.